can take my frustration and voice it, I have a funny feeling that there's millions of people that have that same frustration that were overlooked. I'm in the hope business.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 Netflix documentary Sly. The documentary is directed by Thom Zimmer, and obviously it focuses on the life of Sylvester Stallone. So we get obviously lots of interview time with him. You also get contributions from people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Quentin Tarantino, his brother Frank Stallone, Talia Shire, Henry Winkler, and so on and so forth. Right. Naturally, this is a documentary that focuses on the life and career of Sylvester Stallone. Right from his early start in Hollywood when he was a struggling actor, up to the point where he was close to giving up acting and decided to kind of become a writer, really. He ended up writing Rocky. Held firm because he wanted to be in Rocky. He was offered a lot of money, apparently, by quite a few studios for the script for Rocky. And he kind of turned them down and says, no, this is for me. It's only for me. So obviously we know that Rocky was made, and that is the film that kind of catapulted him into superstardom. And so this film focuses right on from the beginning of his career, the struggles that he had to make it into Hollywood, the issues that he had, and then the issues that he had once he became famous. I mean, he couldn't buy a hit after he made Rocky, until he kind of then made Rocky 2 and then First Blood, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. Now, I really quite enjoyed this documentary. I thought it was a well-made documentary. It was about 90 minutes long, something like that. I was expecting, though, something similar to the Schwarzenegger Netflix documentary that we got a couple of months ago. That was a 3-part documentary, one that focused on the early part of his career as an athlete, Schwarzenegger, and then the second one focused heavily on his film career, and then the third one focused heavily on his political career. And I have to say, I thought the Schwarzenegger one was far more in depth than this one. This really, I felt, only really scratched the surface of Stallone. It focused, obviously, as you would expect it to, very heavily on his on Rocky, the Rocky franchise, and quite a lot on the Rambo franchise as well. Those are the two main franchises that it focused on. It focused a little bit on some of the flops that he had, like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and things like that, and Oscar, I think, as well. And some of the films that he made after Rocky that didn't do well at all that kind of stuff. And it talked quite a lot about his father and his abusive relationship with his father, if you like. But it didn't really go beyond that, you know. It didn't, even though his brother Frank was interviewed, Frank Stallone. We didn't get much else about his family life and all this kind of stuff, and it felt like, you know, he was keeping us at arm's length a little bit, Stallone, in this thing. And I would have liked to have seen behind the curtain a little bit more, you know, his writing process and all that kind of stuff. It just, for me, it just felt like it only just scratched the surface. I mean, and Stallone is a legend. He's still going strong today, you could argue, you know what I mean? He might not be a young man anymore, but he's still knocking out these movies. You know, I still enjoy, when there's a Stallone film coming out, I still get quite excited to see it, as I do with Schwarzenegger film. You know, I grew up with these guys. I grew up with Stallone. He is an action legend. And I don't think he gets the recognition that he deserves. It didn't really. I thought, and maybe it's because he might have had creative control over this. I suspect he would have had a lot, but I think he's massively underrated as an actor, Stallone. He's been nominated for an Oscar twice. Obviously, he's not won. And that's not an accident to be nominated twice. They did try and talk a little bit about Copland, the film he made back in the late 90s, where he put on that weight and he was like in the film with Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel and stuff like that. But not enough. It didn't focus on the Creed films or anything like that. It kind of only just touched on the Expendables films, certainly the first one anyway. And it didn't mention an awful lot of the other films that we all really enjoy, you know, like the Cobras and Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, and you know, I mean, we could go on and on and on. I mean, he's done so many fabulous films over the years, and I just don't think this documentary was long enough, and I don't think it delved deep enough into Stallone. I think it gave us a taste. Now, if there was another part of this, another hour and a half to come, you know what I mean, I would be very, very happy to watch it, because I think we would learn an awful lot more about Stallone. But as it is, there is definitely stuff in this that's eye-opening. There's stuff in this documentary that I didn't necessarily know about Stallone. He is very open and he is very honest about it, and it's quite interesting watching and listening to tapes of himself from like many, many years earlier. And as always, it's really interesting and fascinating listening to these prominent people talking about him and giving him compliments, the likes of Schwarzenegger, and for me as well, particularly Quentin Tarantino, who had some really, really complimentary things to say about Stallone and his movies, which kind of surprised me, and I kind of thought, whoa, why has he never asked him to be in one of his movies then, Quentin Tarantino? If he respects him and all this kind of stuff, you'd think he would have approached him to be in some of his movies, or at least one of his movies. Maybe he has, and maybe Stallone's turned him down. Who knows? But yeah, if you're like a casual fan of Stallone, or even if you're a super fan of Stallone, this is definitely worth checking out. There is a lot to enjoy here, and there's a lot of like archive footage of Stallone that we haven't seen before, and I think you'll probably find it quite eye-opening. But again, I don't think we got everything that I certainly didn't get everything that I wanted from this documentary. It just kind of, it more than anything, it whetted my appetite. So maybe that was the whole point, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's on Netflix now, guys. It came out, I think, at the beginning of November. So it's been out a few days now. If you're umming and ahhing about it, then definitely I would suggest check it out, because I do think Netflix do pretty decent documentaries. And I certainly enjoyed this one as well. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.